Welcome back to the Cottage Farmstead. My name is Nathan Vanette, and I'm actually over here at the farm that I work at, Growing Green Family Farms, which thankfully isn't too far from our homestead in Townville. So today I will be getting some perlite, which is a waste product of the farm here for our microgreen production, and taking it over to our land to help build up some of the soil. As here, our soil composition is very heavy clay, and that's just a hard condition to grow certain crops, especially some of your leafy greens. And the perlite helps to just provide aggregate material to break up some of that soil. So here, you can see is what's left after growing the microgreens. There might be sunflower shoot holes or whatnot. There is a good bit of stuff that actually ends up sprouting, anything from mustard to dill, radishes. We'll have some celery and cilantro as well throughout there. Basically any of the seeds that we use, some of them are not germinated. But here you can see I can squeeze it, and it just is so loose that it bounces right back. We're hoping that by adding that to clay, which if you squeeze clay, it'll form a ball and just stay right there. We're hoping to prevent that from happening, just to enable more drainage and absorption of nutrients. The challenging thing that we have been facing this year with building our house is the lack of time for investing in our garden, which has been very challenging because there's nothing like being able to go out and tend the garden on a nice cool evening and harvesting the fruits of your labor. So it's been hard, but that's where we're hoping to do well with the soil management now, to hopefully be able to get in a late summer or early fall planting. As in doing so, it will enable us and free up our time to continue to build our house. Another one of the logistics that has just been too much to consider a farm or consider the garden right now is we are living about 40 minutes away from our homestead, which definitely makes it challenging for getting back and forth. And just with all the tending that a garden needs, we thought it would be wise just to wait until we can afford more time and hopefully be on site, just to give it what it needs to justify that investment. Meanwhile, I got a shovel, some totes, and my trusty Prius. That thing is incredible what all it can fit and haul. So we're going to get busy here and hopefully get enough perlite, at least for a small portion of our garden. That way, when the time comes to start tilling, we can incorporate that right in for that initial till. And hopefully after just breaking the ground, we can progress towards a no-till gardening system. Let's get busy. I have these black totes here, which will be handy for transportation. Easy to clean out once I'm done. And hopefully this will not take too long. Now that those are filled, I will get those into the Prius and then head on out to the homestead, which is only about 7 or so minutes away from here. But I wanted to quick show you, we grow sunflower shoots, and when they happen to grow, look at the beautiful flower it produces. Here you can see some sugar peas from the pea shoots that we grow. So it's just a menagerie of delightful greens, purple mustard, different varieties of kale, and those are radishes that are blooming in the back. Well, we got 3 big totes. Now the process of hauling it over to our homestead and hopefully bring more fertility and life to the soil for our future garden coming soon. So this space behind me is where I'm going to be spreading some of that perlite, where we have some bare clay. Just hoping to be able to make this a little bit more usable for our crop gardens. And what we like about it is our house is right here. So this garden, we wanted to be in our zone 1 for our permaculture planning of the property. So very close, very convenient from the house, both the carport side, but then also the basement side, as eventually we would like to have a walk-in cooler in our basement. So then as we were harvesting the produce and getting it cleaned, we can just take it right into the house and have it into the cooler, hopefully shortly after harvest, to maximize the shelf life. Unfortunately, we have had quite the drought this spring. I think the last substantial rain was over a month and a half ago, which is quite unusual for the month of May. We usually have some nice rain showers, but it seems like summer settled in a little bit earlier this year with that type of weather pattern. But you can just see with the clay how these cracks form, and unfortunately there's just hardly any fertility in this soil at the moment. And you can see I can't get my fingers in there. It is just so hard. And that's where we're hoping that perlite will help just make it a little bit more areable and workable for the future. Despite the drought, you can start to see how we already have the pastures turning green again. One thing that is nice is we have a very, very thick grass base that we're thinking just help to hold some of that moisture in. But if I pan around here where the soil is bare, it was interesting just to see some of the different plants that came up. One of which I'm not too enthusiastic about is this fella right here. This is called horse nettle. I'm sure there's other names for it. It is one of the arch nemesis of us homesteaders and farmers. It has terrible spikes, almost like the thorns or spikes on a cactus. And they hurt when you try to pull it up. You can pull it up down by the base where they're not quite as hard or mature, but it is still a painful experience. One other thing to be mindful of this particular plant is the Colorado potato beetle loves it. So if you're hoping to grow potatoes on your homestead and you have this weed here, this weed will harbor that pest, enabling it to overwinter and reach a population threshold that has a potential of being detrimental to your potato crop. So if you see that, it's a good one definitely to try to pull out as soon as possible. Well, I finished getting it spread out. It was definitely challenging as I have a repetitive stress injury with my wrist. So it just takes longer, had to be extra careful, but I was able to get it into this area here. It's probably close to 10 feet wide by about 25 feet long. Our garden, I think, will end up being about 30 by 96, so we'll need many more trips. But it's amazing just seeing the color contrast of the red clay to the white perlite. And hopefully in the years to come, that will help yield a bountiful garden for us in our homestead. Well, thank you for joining us today. We will hopefully have this garden prepped and ready for tilling, as my father-in-law is hoping to get his tractor out here within the next couple of weeks. Sorry, Mr. Kilby, for having work lined up so far in advance. But if all goes well, once this is planted, we do have some transplants ready to go in the garden. It's just tough right now with focusing so much time and energy on the house, but anything and everything we can do, like this perlite here, we're hoping will continue to help things thrive in years to come. Well, we'll see you next time.